It is day 11 of testimony in the Donna Adelson trial. And in as many days, 2 days, there has been another sequestration disaster of sorts. Yet another witness was in the gallery and caught the attention of Judge Stephen Everett. There was a entire proffer about it, and ultimately Judge Stephen Everett decided to let this witness, another divorce attorney, get up on the stand after Georgia Kappelman agreed to let this woman get up there. And then there was a blistering cross examination. For most of the day, it was a bit monotonous, but as we headed into lunch, things got heated.
Welcome to the global phenomenon, Surviving the Survivor. Here's your host, Emmy Award-winning journalist, Joel Waldman.
What's up, STS Nation? Welcome to Surviving the Survivor. This is the show that brings you the very best guests in all of true crime, coming to you live from Leon County, Florida, the home of Tallahassee and the trial, which, of course, is Donna Sue Adelson versus the state of Florida. And up to this point, it is in some ways felt like a complete battle between the defense and the government, but in other ways, sort of a war of attrition, with a lot of people believing that the defense is just fumbling and bumbling here at every turn. And as a result, it has been difficult at times to follow, and also difficult at times to watch. But I got to tell you, the people who have been absolute troopers in all this are the most important people that there are, and those are the jurors. They, to me, do not seem to have lost any focus at all. They were particularly interested in what was going on once this second sequestration order in as many days was violated by the defense. Again, this was a woman named Linda Bailey, a divorce attorney, who was sitting in the gallery for reasons unknown to anyone really except her. But she was sitting in the gallery when the first divorce attorney for the defense was going. And just yesterday, it was Judge Stephen Everett who reprimanded Josh Zellman and Jackie Fulford, saying, don't allow your witnesses to be in the gallery. You need to look around. And yet it happened again today. This time, everyone was kind of on the lookout for it. I happened to notice it myself. I was in the media room at the time and spoke to some members of the state and people who represent the state. And sure enough, Georgia flagged Judge Stephen Everett. Others noticed it too. So she got flagged by a bunch of people. Now, arguably the most important thing is going on in camera right now, and this is why there's a long lunch break today. It is 1:08 Eastern time, and we are not expected to have lunch end till 2:20 Eastern time, so another hour and 10 minutes. And that is because right now there is an in-camera hearing to decide Donna Adelson's future in terms of being a witness or simply just a defendant in this case. In other words, is she going to get on the stand? And we're going to talk about this later, either way, with Tim Jansen, who has a story in the Tallahassee Democrat today about this, whether it would be to her advantage or not. But once we saw this, there was an absolute blistering cross-examination on Linda Bailey from Georgia Kappelman. I'll get to that in just a minute. But watching that, I know there is fear and trepidation from Josh Zellman, Jackie Fulford, and Donna Adelson. Donna Adelson is not a dumb person, and she knows that if she gets up there to testify, she's going to have to answer questions from Georgia, and they're not going to be easy questions. She's going to be put in the proverbial hot chair. And I think right now they are second guessing this decision, which almost seemed to be guaranteed that she would testify. But now, this far into the trial, again, this is week 3 and day 11 of testimony, I think they've gotten enough of a taste of Georgia and Sarah Catherine Dugan to now second guess themselves about whether or not they want their defendant, and if Donna Adelson herself wants to get up there and risk opening any doors here, legal doors, to allow Georgia to pounce on her. Now, a couple of things of interest, and we'll go through some of the salient points of the day, and I'll take questions. But two more witnesses are expected this afternoon. One of them is Maricel Descalzo, who represented Donna for a brief moment. She's a Miami-Dade County-based attorney, and she'll be up on the witness stand. And then there's a woman, um, Newhouse, who is expected to testify after her, and she was the advocate for Wendy Adelson the day of the police interview. And credit to Fancy Fiction, who reminded me that she's the one who said, "Don't we look alike?" So she's expected to take the stand, and they're going to talk to, I'm sure, Donna's mind frame, well, Wendy's mind frame at the time, and how it all came together. But um, bottom line is, this divorce attorney, Linda Bailey, she was the second divorce attorney to take the stand. And essentially, what these divorce attorneys, who have something like 37 years experience, were saying and arguing was, hey, this wasn't really a contentious divorce. This wasn't a bitter divorce. This is just a typical kind of divorce that we see every single day of the week in our practice. Now, the analogy that I will make here, and by the way, we've got a special guest, and his name might rhyme with Meave Moen, coming up in just a second, who's sitting behind the camera. But the analogy I'll make here is, my brother-in-law is a cardiologist. When he's talking about fixing hearts, it's like he's talking about changing an engine in a car, or fixing a broken valve in a car, right? That's how he talks about hearts, because he deals with it every single day of his life. And, in the operating room, they joke around, but they realize the seriousness of their work. So essentially, these divorce attorneys were up there saying, yeah, this wasn't a contentious divorce at all. This was just a typical divorce. And then Georgia on cross just got up and absolutely blistered her, and basically started by saying, what makes you an expert on how they feel? And the implication here is, back to the heart analogy, to my brother-in-law, every single day doing angioplasty and working and doing these heart procedures, it's not necessarily a big deal to him every single day. He knows what he's doing, he knows how to do the procedure, and 9 out of 10 times or more than that, it's successful. But to the person getting the procedure done, it is the biggest event in their life potentially. This is life or death. You can die during this procedure. And so that's the analogy that Georgia Kaplan was making. She was saying, well, it might not be contentious to you because you're a divorce attorney. You see this all day, every day. But to the Adelsons, and particularly to Dan Markel, this was a huge deal with a lot of money at stake and a lot of issues at stake, including custody issues. So basically, Georgia dressed her down and said, how dare you say this isn't a big deal when divorce is a huge deal? And this woman conceded that, there had been threats to her, to the divorce attorney, murderous threats, that there have been other threats revolving around murder, and that she cited one specific, and she mentioned that he's Middle Eastern in his ethnicity or background, but that this particular person said, if this divorce is filed, I'm going to unalive myself, and this person unalived themselves. So how can you not, how can you say that it is not a big deal? I mean, to Linda Bailey's credit, she was saying that that was a huge deal because this guy took his life. But again, Georgia Kaplan saying, how do you know why are you the arbiter of what is a huge deal or not, to Dan Markel? And I think that point landed very heavily
Joel, can I
with
jump in for a
the
minute?
jurors. Yeah, hop in there, CLE.
So obviously there was a really big energy shift, at least from our perspective. We were watching, things felt very long, very slow. I mean, there was a lot of testimony that seemed unnecessary. They take a quick bathroom break. They come back, and Georgia just seems to be on fire. I mean, she's going a million miles an hour and brings the energy. What was the reaction in the courtroom to that energy? Because it seemed like it was, at least from watching it, it seemed like it was definitely a huge shift.
Yeah, so there's a male juror, 2 or 3 seats front row from, if you're facing the jury box, 2 or 3 seats to the right, kind of closest to Judge Everett's bench. And I was watching him. That guy hasn't really shown no tells at all. He's just been watching and listening. But when Georgia did that, he had a look on his face like, oh damn, like he was very animated, like, oh my god, like what's going on? There, all the jurors when Georgia got in there for cross were they were definitely, their collective antennae went up, and they were paying a lot more attention. I mean, mainly because of what you just said, that the energy in that room was so low during those two divorce attorney witness testimony. It was just so low. People, I mean, I'm sitting there like biting on the palm of my hand to try to just keep myself awake, and that was generally the feeling. Now, every time I have felt like that, I've looked over and I noticed that the jurors are still really paying attention. But when Georgia kind of ramped up the energy with the cross on her, and Georgia was upset. That was the most fired up she's been. These jurors all took notice. The woman in the back right, I call her the note taker. She doesn't stop taking notes. She started scribbling down notes. Sprinkler Man, Mountain Man, all of them were definitely involved at that point. And I think part of that energy stemmed from a few minutes earlier, where there was this now second sequestration violation order. And that annoyed Georgia too, because now you have to wonder, is the defense playing a game here? Why are they letting a second witness in there? You saw that Josh Zellman, he had written to the judge but did not get permission, so he was citing what he had written, saying that he would like this person to be in the gallery, but he never got the okay from Judge Everett. And so Judge Everett was annoyed too. He's like, just because you write something doesn't make it what it is, and I have not given that permission. So Judge Everett was annoyed. That got Georgia and Sarah annoyed, and I think that was kind of the precursor to the ramping up of the energy. A person who is trying to keep himself energized himself is good old Steve Cohen. Steve Cohen, get in here. Try not to knock the tripod over.
Yes.
Try not to FaceTime me in court.
Hi, I know I did do that.
And
I did.
once again, Steve Cohen's belt. It's Steve Cohen's belt. We've decided that's why he beeps every morning. Finally, the sheriff's deputy told you that, right? It's the belt. It's all the belt.
I said, now I beeped again, and now he's going to say something.
Yeah.
And why
Sure
am I
enough,
keep
I'm
beeping
saying it right now on the live. Why wouldn't I say it?
And they were like, well, follow your belt. And okay, I have a lot of thoughts about this one. Yes, it was less than exhilarating. And it's interesting because you're like, why is Linda Bailey, why was, Kristen Adamson's colleague and friend, and, dating back to law school, why was she in the gallery? What was the reason? And I noticed it just 5 minutes ago as I could provide different commentary now sitting next to you, having listened to you speak the past 5 minutes. If I came in blind, I would have been a little bit like, oh, did Joel already mention that? Or I could have stuff to back up to, and as you mentioned, Judge Everett admonished, Zellman for doing it. And he even speculated as to why he was doing it. He did it so that they would have an advantage, and you do have an advantage. And I don't know. When Linda Bailey came up the second time, she said, when she came up, she just kept saying, well, as Kristen said, or as Ms. Adamson said. So,
yeah. So she was definitely citing her testimony, but she said she wasn't impacted by the testimony. And forgive me, because I don't know if I said this off the top, so I'm losing my mind. But Josh Zellman, when Linda Bailey was done, Josh Zellman, and it's very hard, everyone's saying this, it's very hard to hear him because he doesn't really speak into a microphone. He just talks from wherever he is. So in the gallery, it's hard to hear him. But he argued to the judge that people in the gallery, I don't know if you heard this, Steve, that people in the gallery are saying things over his left shoulder, which would put that behind the defense side. So on the other side.
Over his right shoulder.
Oh, over his right. Okay, then that could be the prosecution side. But he was saying, I thought he said left side. So he was saying that people are making comments and acting in a way that could influence the jurors. And right away, Judge Everett said, look, I can't, this is a public courtroom, credit to Judge Everett. But he said, if you tell me who it is, I will have them thrown out. And then he gave an admonition to the gallery saying, if you do anything, and you have to be very careful in there not to do anything. But Steve, have you heard people talking or whispering
I
during
really
that?
haven't. I mean, or even like gesturing, and I try and check myself before I wreck myself through any number of
Which
quote unquote.
doesn't always work.
Well, I accidentally called you by FaceTime. Fine.
Sorry, Steve, I yelled at you via
No,
text.
but it's also like it wasn't like how many times in all the time we've known each other, right? Ever FaceTime the whole group chat. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like
Just during my dad's
yeah,
funeral. But
I know I
besides
did that time. I did do that. I thought about that too, actually. Yeah.
No, but today you also, I don't
Yeah.
want to, throw Steve Cohen under the bus, but you have your
Okay,
vision, your
come
vision's
on.
not your vision.
Blind.
Your vision's not the best, so you have a tendency to hold your phone up, which is a no-no
Yeah.
in the courtroom
Yes.
because they think you're taking photos. So you have the point of all this is that the sheriff's deputy had rules, and basically Zellman was saying these people are influencing the jury in a negative way. So Judge Everett's going to be on it. I'm sure he's telling the giant tree truck going by. I'm sure he's telling the bailiffs to keep an eye out on that. By the way, Harold Anything But Dull's mother just turned either 93 or 94. So shout out, happy birthday to her. And I don't know, Steve, what's your overall impression of the jurors watching them?
Yeah, I think it's they're human like we are, and I think it's a little bit um uh numbing some of this, and it's got to be deadly some of this no pun intended,
Yeah.
some of this testimony. And I've served on jury duty. Have you ever served?
No,
I was
no.
just chatting with Maya, the because I didn't want to like steal their insights, but she's like, I wonder what the jury's thinking.
She's the local reporter
Yeah.
from ABC.
Yeah, and Alicia, the photographer, and they all, and they were off camera just chatting with them. And and at first you're like, well, I'm sure they see what we see, but then how do we know? And I think it reinforces what Georgia was saying to Linda Bailey. How do you know? You don't know. Like we'll know, whenever the jury comes in, if like when the verdict comes in, because if they somehow find her in, not guilty, one of them, or mixed, a hung jury, then we'll know then, so we can't assume to know, and then we happen to be chatting about the Charlie trial where there was one juror who, in my opinion, clearly seemed to be a couple of beers short of a six pack.
Yeah.
And he was gesticulating wildly, seemed to be like nodding, seemed to be looking at the gallery. But I feel like this jury is, as you said, you gave them cute little nicknames, a couple of them. It's
Yeah.
not hard to know which one you're calling Mountain Man.
Yeah.
But I think they're well behaved and just kind of following instructions and want to do their service. But but you ask, like what you mentioned earlier, you said, well, Georgia was mad. And I'm sure she's annoyed, but some of it obviously is performative. And she's raising her voice for a reason, or, and a lot of this is a performance and to feign surprise, but some of it, I think somebody was saying like that phrase, like if it's great, there's no debate or whatever. Like there's certain situations where it's reinforcing what you already know. So that's why everybody is kind of like, really? Like
Georgia knows when to go, and she knew to go then because it was an opportunity to pounce on a witness, which she did. But I was going to say earlier too, to Steve's point, Georgia. Oh, we all know Georgia, but Georgia also in those moments, I think, has to be a little bit careful to not be crazily aggressive because the people of Tallahassee are very reasonable. There's not the same sort of aggressive nature as, let's say, New York, New Jersey, Miami here. Georgia has that sort of type A personality. And I was noticing a little bit when Georgia was really getting going there on the cross, that the jurors like, whoa. But some of it might be, wow, she's like really aggressive here. They don't know her the way a lot of people surviving the Survivor know her. So I think she has to balance a fine line. She knows that. She's been doing it long enough. I mean, Sarah Catherine Dugan sort of plays the good cop to her bad cop sometimes, but I thought that was effective. That was a good place to jump in. One other just sort of behind the scenes things. Shout out to Penny. She brought me, she's the woman who yesterday brought me 3 king size Hershey almond bars. She knows I'm an addict. I had one, by the way, last night that I bought in bed at like 11:57, which is probably not a great idea since I'm trying to cut down on the weight. But she today brought me, I didn't open it yet. This is how sweet the people are. She said she brought me a quote unquote gag gift for my studio back home. So I will let everyone know what that is. And then a retired lawyer who's offering to come on the show, who knows the case really well. She showed me she got a necklace from someone who made a bunch of, there it is. That's the necklace. It's got a spoon on it. That's from the time that Donna Adelson had her spoon taken away in jail. And so some woman, I'll call her Spoon Woman, made spoon necklaces that she's handed out to many people in the gallery, women. And I would wear that, by the way, but she gave it to all women. And they are wearing spoon necklaces. And by the way, if there's any extra spoon necklaces, my daughters will gladly, maybe the COE, would you rock the spoon necklace? Is that a yes? Is that a I've left?
I'm here in the background. I would wear it, but she can also give it to people who are there in court. I'm sure they're excited to wear it there while they're watching Donna. Joel,
Now,
quick
COE,
question
I
for
don't want
you.
to tell everyone our public or private life, but I did think I would be back home in Miami by now, and I had surprised you with tickets to see Lady Gaga. Unfortunately, I will be here, and tonight is the concert, so you're going with your girlfriend, and all I ask for is either a hat or a shirt that is not too flamboyant. Anything else?
I'm not waiting in line for merch. I'm not a
No,
merch.
you are. You are.
We have a question here. Joel, how bad did it look that this last witness refused to concede anything that Georgia stated on cross?
It looked like she was, wanted to be the smartest person in the room. She looked adversarial, and she didn't seem believable because everyone, it's like, I hate using this analogy, but it's like cancer. Everyone knows someone who's been through cancer. And to the outside world, you hear, oh, this person has cancer. Well, my relative has had cancer. This person's had cancer. And so, unless it's like, stage 4 pancreatic cancer, the person has days to live. But in this case here, she was making the point that this divorce was not a big deal, but she is not the person going through the cancer or going through the divorce. And everyone in that courtroom knows someone who has been through a divorce. And so they are going to know implicitly that she is kind of understating the impact that a divorce has on a family. Look, it separates kids from their parents. There's money issues involved. So there's a lot that goes into it. I think these jurors realize that George's point is a valid point, and that she, the divorce attorney, is trying to pretend that she knows all and understands everyone's emotions when she doesn't necessarily understand the way individuals are going to be thinking about a divorce just because she is a divorce attorney. So I thought it was a strong point, Georgie.
Oh, sorry about that. Two more questions for you guys.
Steve wanted to jump in.
I'll just add to that. No, I mean, it's not just that but it's also like that jury, and we were speculating on what they're thinking. That jury also knows that this is a murder trial, and that, there had to have been a reason. Like one of the many sarcastic texts that I sent to people was, you're right. This divorce didn't bother Donna at all, but it really bothered Sigfredo, Luis, Charlie, and Catherine Magmanu enough to kill Dan. They were so upset by the divorce, but not her.
Yeah.
And Katie Bug brings this up. Let's just talk about relating to jurors or relating to anyone at this point. Katie Bug's question is, did it hit bad in the courtroom that Linda Bailey couldn't concede that $80,000 was a lot of money?
I was thinking that same thing too.
Yeah, I mean, $80,000 is a ton of money. And maybe to the Adelsons, it wasn't a ton of money, but I know it was a lot of money to Dan, because Dan gave up a job where he was making a lot of money to be a college professor at FSU where you don't make that much money. And so,
And
I mean, to any normal person,
no, but it's a lot of money
$80,000
to the Adelsons, obviously. Who?
Well, the Adelsons are super frugal. So
Yeah,
in
they
that
throw
regard,
nickels around like manhole covers, and they're and just yeah. And so
I mean, look at the Adelsons. They bought a one-way ticket to Vietnam, probably because they're too frugal, and that literally could cost her life in prison.
and if you believe them, like they fixed a $300 TV or whatever it is,
Right.
and they had like family long sessions about like what to do about this poor TV.
Yeah, I mean, the bottom line is that did not go over well, and especially to these jurors. I think $80,000 could be life-changing money to some people. For her to sit there and downplay it just didn't go over.
And what
well.
would she? What would begs the question? What would Linda Bailey do if somebody owed her $80,000?
Right.
Would she just be like, "Hey, no problem"?
Yeah.
You know.
Don't worry about it.
Yeah.
Good point, Steve.
And
Thank you.
one
Thank you.
one final thing, and then you guys should go get lunch. Obviously, we're all wondering what the jurors are thinking and what they're feeling as we're watching this testimony. But I think the only other people that we care more about than the jurors are the Markels. I mean, they had to sit there and listen to all of this testimony and watch it all unfold in front of them. I mean, don't tell us anything that you can't if you have spoken to them since. But
Yeah.
how are they feeling? And then also, I wanted to pop up that photo if it's okay with you, Joel.
Yeah, make sure we have it for the later shows. I want to show it at the
Yeah,
later
do you mind
show
if I
too,
show it now?
No, we were all
Okay.
or I was at dinner with the Markel. Steve wasn't there, but Steve got a chance to talk to Phil. That's all us right there. That's obviously Phil in the middle. Everyone's rocking their STS hat, which I just happen to have in my trunk. But that's Phil in the middle, Shelly to his right, Ruth to her right. Shout out to Julia to her right, who's a relative. And then you've got me, and then that's Phil's brother-in-law, Max, just a great, great guy.
Yeah.
And Steve was just talking to Max in the hallway. I mean, look, they're cautiously optimistic. I keep saying that, but they also keep saying it only takes one juror, right? So they're not at any point in this entire trial are they like, oh, this is a done deal? I mean, or anything, right? How would you characterize?
I think they're after 11 years of this, right? They're fairly composed and even-handed, and I think they trust, the prosecution team, and they don't sit there and micromanage it, or but could you believe they said this or that? I think they have a degree of distance and just passion towards it, where they're kind of like, okay, well, all right, this is nonsense, but it won't go unchecked.
Yeah, I mean, it's really like a tale of two families. You've got the Markels on the one side of the aisle who are dignified and civil and respectful and just kind of loving people. And then you've got this mean, pouty face from Harvey on the other
Yeah.
side who's sitting all alone. He had a couple friends today, in fairness, the same people who testified yesterday for the family. And then you've got Donna, of course, in the defense chair. But it's really like a stark contrast, and it sucks. I mean, my heart goes out to them because every day for them, for us, same thing. This goes back to what we were just talking about. For us, it's a trial. We're true crime watchers. For them, it's their life. It's their getting justice for their son. So how dare these divorce attorneys be the arbiters of whether it's a good divorce or not a good divorce? Or these people are literally sitting through a trial where they're going to find out if they get justice for their son or not. And the odds are much heavier. The weight is much heavier for them than it is for us.
Well, it makes me think of that Mel Brooks line, which was something to the effect like, "Oh, you break your leg, it's an accident. I hurt my pinky, it's a tragedy."
Yeah.
So some of it's just like based on your perspective, and it just defies credulity just to sit there like that and to not concede anything, as the chat justifiably acknowledged. I mean, it's absurd.
By the way, it would not be an STS show without a dog barking, a child walking in, or Steve Cohen dropping an expression, or what do we call these? Aphorisms? Is that what it is?
Aphorism.
Why don't you give us one more? I mean, besides a checkup from the neck up, what else?
Okay. Trying to think. I mean, I have.
You
Oh,
literally throw them out all
I know,
day,
I
every
know, I
day.
know, I
They
know.
never stop, and now
I
you can't
know,
think of
I
one.
know, I know.
Like, by the way,
Um,
someone came up to me yesterday. They were dead
yeah.
serious. The owner of the Mets is Stephen Cohen, and someone came up to me and said, "I know this is a strange question, but is does he also own the Mets?" And I thought they weren't joking. I thought they were, and I was like, "No, I don't think that the Mets owner, who's also a multi-billionaire from a hedge fund, would really spend the time working on Surviving the Survivor." But it was a nice thought. Have you ever
I met him, Stephen A. Cohen.
You
Yeah,
have.
yeah, and
do you ever stay up at night and say to yourself,
yeah,
I work on Surviving the Survivor. I don't own the Mets, but I
yeah.
wish I owned the Mets.
No, but I think happiness is not getting what you want, but wanting what you got.
Mm, there we go.
And that's in comparison's the thief of joy, as I tell young Joel all the
Yes,
time.
yes. Comparison is the
know,
thief of joy. It's a good
right?
one.
And I just think so. We have to be happy with what we're doing and the impact we're making here, and to a great viewership of people who similarly want justice. So,
We're off to the Metro Deli. Steve Aphorism Cohen. That's what
yeah,
the A stands for.
yeah,
And Stephen
exactly.
A. What is your middle name? Alan?
Allen, which I think the Mets owner, I think he's definitely Stephen A. Cohen. But,
He is, really. So
yeah.
Steve Aphorism Cohen. We've just discovered a new name. COE. Are we allowed to go eat now?
You've earned your lunch.
Yeah, by the way, tonight while you're at Lady Gaga, I'm going to be doing Courtroom Confidential at 8. I'm doing Vinnie Politan at 9. I'm doing Ashley Banfield at 10.
And
So
don't
have fun
forget, I
at the
texted
con.
you about those 2 videos as well.
COE.
Oh,
I'm
and
going to
then
check in about Ellen Greenberg. I don't know if you want to do a quick mention, Joel.
I don't even, I have to
Okay.
read up
it's
on
at
it.
1:30. Yeah, like that.
Yeah.
And then
Okay.
tonight
I'll
it's going
text
to
you
be
guys.
Tim, Jared, and and
Tim,
Ashley.
Jared, and Ashley, an attorney from Tally, will be on 20 minutes after court tonight. Love you, America. Love you,
All right, thank
Tallahassee.
you.
Justice for Dan Markel. Steve Aphorism Cohen.
Thank you.
Plug.